Welcome to today's episode of Pages of the Past. I'm your literary time travel host, Xena Arielle, and today we will be traveling to the beautiful English countryside. So I actually stumbled across one of these books because it was a recommendation. It's this little book called Uphill and Down. And the author is H.L. Gee. Now, I pronounce it Gee, it could be G, it's spelled G-E-E. So I'm going to say H.L. Gee. And he has quickly become one of my favorite authors. My bookish bestie, Linda, actually read the book first and told me I would find it quite delightful, and I did. This book was published in the 1940s, and H.L. Gee was actually an author who wrote about the countryside and the coast of Yorkshire, England, his native county. He also went under the pseudonym Francis Gay for some of his writing. And the thing about picking up one of his books, especially Uphill and Down, because this was the first one I read, you're not quite sure where he's going. These books are written in, I would say, an essay form, so somewhat also a journal. And he brings you right along this journey. I have to say that when I picked this book up, I was not quite sure exactly how that journey was going to be, because this is the first line, and we will do our first line test on Uphill and Down by H.L. Gee. Women, it seems, are deceivers ever, but I shall have more to say about this presently. Well, that right there makes you want to read, and may even make you a little miffed at the author. What do you mean women are deceivers ever? Well, he can be right in many ways, and he goes on to expound on this, but not before he takes you on a beautiful journey across the English countryside. And I got so wrapped up in this book, which at first was kind of a big question mark in my mind, that I really didn't want it to end. When I got to the end of this little book, I was like, no, please don't let it be over. And it was one of the first books that I had that somewhat story withdrawal, if you've ever experienced that, where, oh, you know you're going to miss the characters, you know that it's ending, and you have to move on to the next journey. But his style of writing includes a lot of wit. He has a great sense of humor, and he has a different way of looking at the world. So I love books, as you know, written in the first person. This one is not only written in the first person, it is a biographical style of writing, because the author actually does take the journeys and does write about every step and the people that he meets along the way, which makes it even more fun, realizing that, you know, so often truth is stranger, truth is greater than fiction. So that is Uphill and Down, the first book I read of H.L. Gee, and because I got so wrapped up in this story, I was eager to read another one of his books. He wrote so many, just little lovely books. And the next one that I read this year was Talking Out of Doors. Now, the style of this book is actually quite a bit different from Uphill and Down, simply because Uphill and Down takes us through different avenues, and it's more about the people that he meets on his little pilgrimage. Whereas Talking Out of Doors is just what it says. He's simply walking along the meadows and the hillsides of Yorkshire, England, and telling you all about the sights and the sounds. And oftentimes he incorporates it in little vignettes where he will go off on a tangent about maybe a wildflower and then bring up one of his favorite poems. He tells stories. He uses authors like the great poet Robert Browning, and even some excerpts from Shakespeare to just bring us into a romanticization of all the things that God has created in nature, to really bring us back to a whimsical and charming perspective. And sometimes I feel like we all need that. I particularly love H.L. Guy's writings because sometimes it's good to read something that really stretches our brain and makes us think. And those kind of books aren't always easy. Often the topics can be somewhat depressing or just difficult. It's a journey that you have to take a deep breath and turn the page. But with H.L. Guy, in between those heavier novels that I've been reading, he has been a breath of fresh air to just let my mind wander where the meadows are green and where the birds are singing. And I find that essay style of writing has really gone by the wayside. Now, maybe I'm just not aware, and maybe we still have some really great essayists. If you have a modern one that you enjoy, please do leave the name in the comments. I'd love to read some of their work. But just being able to write about one topic, one simple topic, maybe one silly topic, in a way that is so engaging and relaxing that it's truly entertaining. And that's the talent that H.L. Guy has. Now, you know that I absolutely am fascinated with England. I have not had the opportunity to travel there yet. I hope to someday see it for myself, but I really feel like I have had a glimpse of not only a different country, but a different time when I read Uphill and Down and Talking Out of Doors. I would say both of these books are a 10 out of 10. And if anybody was a little surprised, I know that first line that I read out of Uphill and Down seemed a little bit different. You're like, that is a strange way to start a story about traveling. But one thing you'll get to know along the way is H.L. Guy's delightful sense of humor, and you get to know his family. Believe me, you're going to hear a lot about his wife Judith, and that's all I'm going to say on that note. So I highly recommend that you look up H.L. Guy or possibly books by Francis Gay, that was his other pseudonym, and just dive right in. Don't look for something. Let whatever magic H.L. Guy has wound in these books find you. And let his stories and the friends that he meets along the way become your friends. That's H.L. Guy, Uphill and Down, Talking Out of Doors, and that's the conclusion of today's book review. So, have you ever read a book by H.L. Guy? If you have, please let me know in the comments. Let me know which book has been your favorite, and I would be happy to discuss those with you because these really are little treasures that I feel we have a glimpse of England and of another time. So, until next time, happy reading, and we'll meet in the next video.